The laughter still echoed in my ears long after it had died in the room. It was supposed to be a harmless joke, just a quick jab among friends after too much wine. But when I saw the way Daniel's face tightened, the way his jaw clenched and his hand stilled mid-reach for his glass, I knew I had crossed a line I could never uncross. I had laughed at him, at his body, at his masculinity, in front of people who would never forget it. And as the laughter of my friends bubbled on, I caught his eyes. They were flat, cold, like a shuttered window. That was the first time in our marriage I couldn't read him. The car ride home was silent, the kind of silence that pressed down on the skin, heavier than words. I wanted to apologize, but each time I opened my mouth, his grip tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles pale, veins raised like cords. I stayed quiet, convincing myself that the storm would pass. But storms don't pass when they've been brewing for years, they break. The next day, he barely spoke. He left early, came home late. He didn't kiss me goodbye, didn't sit down for dinner. It was like living with a ghost who still cast a shadow. And I told myself it was just wounded pride, that he'd cool off. But deep down, unease pooled in my chest. By the third day, I felt like I was suffocating. The house was too quiet, every creak in the floorboards too loud. When the front door opened that evening, I jumped. He didn't greet me. He didn't even look at me. He went straight upstairs. I followed, a pit tightening in my stomach. "Daniel," I said, my voice breaking the silence like a fragile glass. He paused on the stairs, shoulders rigid. "What?" "I didn't mean it. You know I didn't." Finally, he turned, his eyes sharp, unblinking. "But you did. You laughed. You thought it was funny." "I was drunk." "Don't." His voice was low, dangerous in its calm. "Don't excuse it." The quiet stretched, pulling at my nerves until I wanted to scream. Then he said something that chilled me to the bone. "You've embarrassed me for the last time." That night, I barely slept. My mind twisted over his words, his tone, the way his eyes had looked right through me. My guilt gnawed at me, but so did a sharper fear I couldn't name. The next morning, I woke to find his side of the bed empty, his closet half bare. Panic shot through me. He hadn't just left early for work, he had packed. I stumbled downstairs, heart pounding, and that's when I saw it. On the kitchen table sat his phone, left behind deliberately. Unlocked. A text thread open. Her name was Olivia. His co-worker. My chest tightened as I read. Messages filled the screen, weeks of them. Late-night confessions. Bitterness about me. Plans whispered between lines. And then the last one, written at 2 a.m. "I think I'm ready to be with someone who doesn't laugh at me." The phone slipped from my hand and clattered against the table. My pulse thundered in my ears, a sick heat crawling up my throat. He hadn't just been hurt, he had been planning his escape. Maybe even his revenge. When he returned that night, I was waiting in the dark, the phone on the table between us. "You left this," I said softly. His eyes flicked to it, then back to me. No guilt. No panic. Just resignation, like a man finally caught in something he'd been daring fate to uncover. "So you know," he said. The air thickened around us. My voice cracked. "How long?" "Since before the dinner," he admitted. "Since before you humiliated me. Maybe I was just waiting for a reason. And then you handed me one." The room spun. I wanted to scream at him, to claw back every ounce of dignity he'd stolen, but the words tangled in my throat. "So what? You punish me. You crawl into her arms and pretend that makes it right." He stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "You made me a joke, Anna. In front of people who will never let me live it down. You laughed at me in the one place I should have been safe, with you. And you expect me to just forgive." Tears burned my eyes, hot and unrelenting. I was stupid, Daniel. I was drunk and cruel, and I hate myself for it. But you, my voice cracked. You planned to replace me. Silence. His chest rose and fell, steady, calm. "Maybe I already have." The words sliced me open, and something inside me broke. The days that followed blurred into one long ache. He stayed, but not with me. His body was in the house, but his heart, his touch, his warmth, was elsewhere. With her. With Olivia. I tried to fight. I tried to remind him of us, of everything we'd built, of the laughter that once belonged to us alone. But every time I reached for him, I felt the chasm widening, too vast to cross. One night, I caught him smiling at his phone, the kind of soft smile I hadn't seen in years. That was when I realized, I hadn't just lost him. I'd given him away. With one careless laugh, I'd handed him to someone else. The final blow came quietly. A folded note on the kitchen table, his handwriting sharp and decisive. I can't be with someone who mocks me and calls it love. You broke something I can't repair. Olivia sees me. Goodbye. I sat at that table for hours, staring at the ink until it blurred through my tears. And in the hollow of my chest, guilt and fury battled until neither had strength left. I had made the cruelest joke of my life, and the punchline was losing him forever. But as I crumpled the note in my fist, a single thought burned through the wreckage. He thought he'd gone nuclear. But he had no idea what I was capable of when left alone with nothing but grief and fire.